go ahead and get started with creating SAS libraries. As I mentioned earlier in my videos, we saw that SAS files are stored in our libraries, and by default SAS actually defines several libraries for us, and included in these libraries we have SAS help, SAS user, and our work library. So our SAS help library, it's a permanent library, and it contains sample data and other files that control just pretty much how SAS works at our site, and it's a read-only library. So let's go ahead and take a look inside our active SAS help library. And let's go ahead and get into one of these files. As you can see, these are actually catalogs. I haven't mentioned these in the videos, but these are catalogs, and we will get into it in other videos. Let's go ahead and open one up. As you can see, it is in read-only browse mode. So it was unable to open catalog in edit mode, but it opened in browse mode. Now let's go ahead and go back. Let's go ahead and look into our SAS user library. So the SAS user library is also a permanent library, and it contains SAS files that store our personal settings. And this, I would recommend, this is the most convenient place to store our files if we want to make a permanent file. And then we have our work library. As I've mentioned in other videos, the work library is it's a temporary library. Remember, it's a temporary library. Our work library is a temporary library for files that don't need to be saved from session to session. So since we haven't worked on anything, there isn't anything inside of the contents of the work library. So as I mentioned in my last video, we can define additional libraries, and when we define a library, we have to indicate the location for our SAS files so that SAS knows where to place them in our operating system or in our environment. And even though you delete a SAS library, so let's just say we create a library. Let's go ahead and create one just really quickly. I'll name it Facebook engine. Let's just go to default. The path, I'll go ahead and browse the path really quickly. I'll place it in my SAS files here. So just click OK. Okay. So I created, as you can tell, I defined another library. So let's just say we actually stored a file inside this library, and we wanted to go ahead and delete it. Let me go ahead and open this up just so you can see that there's nothing in. Oh, actually there is. So this one was from our previous video, and as you can see, I just created a new library, and there was already a data file inside. So what happens is that even though you delete a library from the contents of your libraries, the files that are inside are actually still stored in your environment, in your computer's operating system, and your files. So whatever path you selected, those files are still saved onto your computer. So you'd actually have to go to the location of where you decided that you would place all of those files, and then you'd have to physically delete the files inside. So you just want to go right click and delete, and that's how you delete a library. Also, good to know, it's depending on your operating environment. SAS products that you license can help you create libraries with various engines. So as you saw, there was defaults, and when I selected the drop-down menu, there was other engines that we could select. I just selected the default, but we also will get into that in other videos. But each engine actually enables you to read a different file format. So that includes file formats from other software vendors, which would maybe include Excel. You also have the option of creating and using file shortcuts. So as we've seen in our Explorer window, we have access to our SAS files, and we can create file shortcuts to an external file that's not in our libraries. So an external file, is just like I mentioned, is a file that's created and maintained in our host operating environment, so on your computer. External files contain data or text such as SAS program statements, records of raw data, and procedure output. And SAS can also use external files, but they are not managed by SAS. And the file shortcuts are actually stored in the file shortcuts folder in our Explorer window. So let's go back, and as you can see, here's our active file shortcuts. We don't have anything at the moment. So when we create a file shortcut and we want to get rid of it, so when we delete the file shortcut, the pointer to the file is deleted, and SAS no longer has access to that file. However, with the same thing as when you delete a library, the contents that were inside that file still exist in our operating environment. So they still exist in the location that you selected to place that file in. So whether it may be the C drive, user, backslash, let's just say you have another created folder, Facebook, forward backslash SAS, and then you placed everything in that folder. It's still going to exist there in your operating system, so you'd have to go to the start menu, My Computer, or go to the C drive, wherever you decided to select that location for that specific file. So along with the Windows and many of our SAS files and SAS programs, SAS also provides a set of ready-to-use solutions, applications, and tools, and you can find those by just going and left-clicking on your Solutions drop-down menu. As you can see, you can they give you the options for analysis, reporting, development and programming, accessories, desktop. Then you can go to the Tools drop-down menu, Query, New Library, New File Shortcut. If you go down to Options, then you can go to Preferences as well, or change your current folder. Change the colors of the font that you'd like. And as an example, you can go ahead and use the Table Editor and the Tools drop-down menu, Table Editor, to create to enter your own data in a SAS data set. So let's go ahead and just add something. Let's go ahead and add Facebook. Go ahead and add some variables. Twitter. So as you can see, Instagram does not fully fit because it exceeds the 8 characters length rule unless specified when you're creating your syntax. This is just an example by going into your editor. We don't have to save it. And then last, what I want to touch on this last video, which is going to actually close up the chapter, so we've completed chapter 1, is just that if you ever have any questions, you can go ahead and pull up the help drop down menu using this window, SAS help and documentation, getting started with SAS software, learning SAS programming, which I always recommend using. You click OK. It's creating sample data and data files. So as you can see, it actually even created some active file shortcuts for us. Let's go back a window. Let's go back to the libraries, and now it's even added extra sample data sets and libraries for us to use. So that finishes up chapter 1, and hope that was helpful. If there's any other questions, feel free to contact me. The email, everything's going to be listed below in the information section.